Hey all, here OS Reviews, here watching our unboxing and first impressions look at the Chuwi Hi9 Pro. This is a 8-inch tablet running on Android 8.0 Oreo. So Android tablets over the past few years have kind of lost their momentum, but the price point has come down quite a bit, and now we see less premium tablets and more value or budget-oriented versions with pretty strong specifications these days, and the Chuwi Hi9 Pro is a good example of that. Selling it at $135, you're getting more than your money's worth, inclusive of a 2K display, in addition to a 4G LTE support, so it supports both a SIM card and Wi-Fi. It also has a Helio X20 processor. On the side here, we have some basic specifications. It comes in a few different color and memory capacity variants, so other tablets in the same range that it competes with would probably be by Lenovo, such as the Tab 3 and the Tab 4 series, in addition to some Huawei tablets. But again, those tend to be at least $80 to $100 more expensive, and it does have a high resolution on the Hi9 Pro over here. Chuwi is based in Shenzhen, China, but they are releasing quite a few Android tablets. There is another model coming that is geared specifically for gaming, but the internals are very similar to the Hi9 Pro. There's a 5,000 mAh capacity battery, which should be sufficient to power it for at least 2 days of moderate use. There's a SIM card ejector tool. Again, that 4G LTE support is unique on a relatively low-cost tablet these days. It also has a 8-megapixel rear-facing camera that's made by Samsung, and it does use USB Type-C. So a quick look at the design now. Again, it is made out of aluminum, even on the edges. We have some red accents on the side for the power key, which is also textured, making it slightly easier to tap and hit. Only slight downside is that the speaker is mounted in the rear, and it seems to be a single firing unit. On the top, though, we do have the SIM card ejector tool. There is a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is really nice to see because we also have a Type-C port there. And on the front, we just have the 8-inch 2K display along with a front-facing camera. There's also what looks like a earpiece, which is interesting. So technically, this is a phablet. Because it supports a SIM card, you can just pop in an AT&T or T-Mobile SIM and use it like a giant smartphone. In this case, it really is huge because of the more traditional 16:9 aspect ratio. It's not really stretched, so the 8 inches does feel quite large. As a quick size comparison, here it is next to the Huawei MediaPad M5. This is the 8.4-inch edition, and we can see that overall they are very similar. Also, in terms of weight and feeling in the hand, they also come very similar as well, just because they're both using the aluminum construction here. Let's proceed through setup. It seems to be actually a very stock install, which is nice to see. It should be very clean to what Oreo delivers. There is a pre-installed screen protector, which is kind of interesting, so it does prevent some smudges and scratches from happening. The screen itself has a 2.5D curved glass. Now, this tablet does not have a built-in biometric fingerprint scanner, so that's one feature that we're missing out on that perhaps the MediaPad or the Lenovo Tab P4 has that Chuwi omitted just to cut on costs. And now we're greeted into the interface. So again, it is a very clean overall install of basically Android 8.0 Oreo. It's unlikely that we'll be seeing an update to Nougat, but that still is quite new, and not many other tablets on the market have that, aside from maybe Google's own products. We have a search bar. The drag-down notification shade is pretty standard, allowing us to tweak things like mobile, turning on airplane mode. There's Wi-Fi, there is Bluetooth, there is GPS on here as well, and there is also the gesture to just swipe up to take a look at apps, because again, it is a very clean install of Android. We do also have some Google apps pre-installed. And just on first impressions, the display seems to be also quite good in terms of sharpness and vividness, as expected from a 2K panel with pretty good viewing angles. The only downside is the brightness doesn't seem to be quite as high as on more expensive devices. So outdoors in direct sunlight, it may struggle a little bit more. And with the 2K panel, it may drain power a little bit more quickly as well compared to just a full HD, for instance. But it does have more pixels to push around if you are into watching Ultra HD content online or stored directly onto the device's built-in memory. It is indeed running on Android Oreo, as we can see here. Now, the only exception that I found in terms of adding new features would be something called DuraSpeed. It's a very interesting concept. Basically, it boosts the speed of the application that's currently open. For instance, if it's a game such as PUBG Mobile, which is very demanding on the GPU, it tries to minimize the other apps in the background from giving you notifications or really running at all, and puts all the resources onto the current app. Otherwise, again, extremely clean. You won't even find any bloatware at all. There's an FM radio. You need to plug in headphones as the antenna, though. There is a file manager, and everything else is basically stock kind of Google services that you'll find. You can obviously download and find more apps in the Play Store if you want to download more content. A few additional kind of wallpaper designs, which you don't find on some other stock devices, that Chuwi probably sideloaded that complements the 2K panel on here. I'll be using this much more over the next few days and come out with a more complete review soon, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But for now, that's been our unboxing and first impressions look at a fairly promising low-cost Android tablet, even though Android tablets, again, are dwindling simply because many folks are having larger and larger display phones, or they're getting kind of Chromebooks, which are beginning to take over and also have the ability to run Android apps. But still, if the price is fair enough, and the fact that this can also insert a SIM card and kind of double as a backup device, like a backup phone, then I think there are still reasons to consider something like this, again, at sub $150. So be sure to stay tuned. You can find the links and more details in the description below, but for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been our first look at the Chuwi Hi9 Pro 4G LTE edition Android tablet.